Here, Jonathan Turley is a constitutional law attorney and Fox News contributor. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. We've got some more news on this today, the Colorado case in particular. The Colorado Republican Party has challenged its appeal to the Supreme Court. What do we expect from here? How fast could the Supreme Court take this up? Does the Supreme Court take this up?
Well, it's a very good question because there is an exit ramp that not only Colorado might prefer, but the court itself might prefer. Colorado's Secretary of State agreed that Trump will stay on the ballot if the Supreme Court does not rule before the January 5th certification date for the state. And so what the position of the state is that unless the court agrees with the Supreme Court of Colorado, which is extremely unlikely, or declines any review, which is also unlikely, that Trump will remain on the ballot because there won't be any action. But what happens after that then becomes rather interesting because Colorado could move and say, look, well, this is now moot because there's no change on the ballot. People are going to be allowed to vote that way. And they could then avoid review by the Supreme Court. I think most of us believe that the Supreme Court is going to reverse the Colorado Supreme Court. So they may actually prefer to moot this out by having the court run out the clock. It's a very short period of time that the Supreme Court has to deal with this.
If the Supreme Court, if they're looking at it, and sure they are, they have to now, there's a petition, at least whether they're going to take it up or not, and you've got Colorado, and then you've got Michigan, and on all the states on the other side, and now you have these other challenges coming up in other states. Does the Supreme Court look at this and say, guys, we've got to weigh in here?
I think they should. That there's no question in my mind that they've got to render a decision here. Many of us view this theory as not just unfounded, but dangerous. And it's going to create instability in a system that has been historically the most stable democracy in history. And this is all happening on this reduced schedule. We are waiting for decisions in places like Maine, which could very well follow Colorado. So the Supreme Court needs to, in my view, put this theory to rest with finality and hopefully with unanimity. But we will see. You know, the Supreme Court often takes exit ramps when they're available. And if they don't rule before the 5th, this may be mooted out, but I'm hoping it will not be. I think there's arguments to be made that this will still not be moot.
Of all the issues that may come up before the Supreme Court as they relate to former President Trump, there's his immunity claim, there's the law pertaining January 6 prosecutions. Which has the most gravity to the constitutional system, do you think?
I think this one does. With the immunity issue, I think the odds are against Trump prevailing. There's going to be a ruling by the D.C. Circuit, which is motivated to make fast work of this. And I think that panel is likely to reject this theory. I'm not too sure the Supreme Court would embrace as broad an immunity claim as Trump is making here. But for Trump, it's the same issue we just talked about. For him, it's how much time you can take off the clock. Because there's a March trial date, which looks really unrealistic at this point for the special counsel. The question is, will the Supreme Court follow regular order and run down this clock more? It's like a fourth quarter play in the NFL. They're trying to leave Smith with as little time as possible to get down the field before the general election.
Jonathan Turley, always a pleasure. Jonathan, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.